Attio CRM is one of the newest players who's kind of redefining what it means to be a CRM. It's an AI native, real time platform that feels more like an Airtable or a Notion than a traditional sales database. You'll see its modern spreadsheet style interface with live collaboration, automatic data enrichment, and even an AI assistant that joins your sales calls to summarize conversations. It's great with email, it's customizable, and designed for teams who hate clunky, outdated CRMs. In this video, we'll dive deep into Attio. We'll talk about its core features, its pricing, its pros, and its cons to help you determine if this is the right tool for your team. Hey, I'm Dan Lehman from SoftwareFinds.com, where we help business owners find the right software that's tailor-fit to the needs of their business. We've crafted tools and charts to help make the buying process easier as you're looking for CRMs. So the first thing when you dive into Attio is it's going to prompt you right away to connect your email. And this is what Attio is so strong at. It's going to analyze your emails. It's going to find all of the companies, all of the contacts, and analyze the strength of your relationships. Now, it's not a tool that's really well configured for high volume outbound email. This is more your day-to-day sales interactions with your existing accounts or with new prospects, but it's not the tool you're going to use for blasting out hundreds of thousands of emails at a time. So the crazy part to me is the second that you activate that email sync, when you're just on a free trial, it's going to automatically start categorizing all of your information. So here I am on my companies. It's taken all of these emails and pulled them in. It's added categories to all of the companies. It's identified their LinkedIn presence, our last interaction, our connection strength, found out any information it can about Twitter, find the domains associated with it. And though you can technically do this with just about any CRM that has an API and use some data enrichment service, the fact that it happens automatically and even when you're on a free trial is pretty cool. The three main tables that we see, at least in my case, were companies, people, and deals. Now, when I'm interacting with these tables, the nice part about Attio is that it's very, very configurable. So for example, I have this default view of recently contacted people, but I can create my own views. I can have my own table view, or we can have a Kanban. This is going to be popular when we have our deals. We can also choose which fields are going to display in our view. We can choose how it's sorted, and we can add any of our own filters. And throughout the application, you're going to see these kind of magic fields that auto-calculate using their backend AI functionality. We'll talk more about this in the customization section, but the cool part is that you can actually create your own AI fields as well. I can click into a contact, and inside of our contact information, we'll see any highlights about our contact. We've got our activity, anything that we've updated within the record. The timeline also includes things like our calendar, which can be synced. So this tells me I've got a meeting that's coming up. We have an expanded view of our activities. In this case, I'm using myself, so we're not displaying the emails because I'm an internal user of the system. But if this were an external user, then we'd see all of our synced emails. Attio has their own call recording functionality, so this will automatically join your meetings that you have on your calendars and sync them back, be able to do the transcriptions for it. And we can see the associated company. We can add any notes or tasks or files to this record as well. I thought this was kind of funny to see some of the data enrichment, and I don't blame them at all, but it just goes to show that data enrichment is not always perfect. So for example, its description of me is sharing bite-sized business tips on YouTube, which I did, oh man, a long time ago. This was something entirely different, and it wasn't associated with any of my professional accounts or LinkedIn. So this is a pretty old description. The job title I manually added in. The primary location is where I lived over 10 years ago. So I think you might see a variety in the quality of data that you get. Another popular feature is Attio's Chrome extension. You can use it when you're inside of email. And here I'm on an email. I have not added this person to the CRM. And so I've got this option to add the person and add the company. Or if the contact already exists in the CRM, then you'll be able to pull open their information. And again, it's just a smaller view of that contact record that we looked at before. The Chrome extension also works on LinkedIn. So here I'm on the profile of someone who is already in the system. And so it suggests these similar records. But here it's got the information it's scraping from LinkedIn to inject if you want to add a new person. Now, I have to say from my experience of reading LinkedIn's terms of service, that I do believe this violates their terms of service. I'm not saying this in any judgmental kind of way. I understand that sales reps need LinkedIn data. I just want to throw it out there so you are aware of it if you're choosing to use this extension on LinkedIn. Now, their documentation mentions that this extension should work on any website, but that wasn't my own personal experience. When it comes to deal or pipeline management, the nice part is that these deals are just like any other custom object you could create in the system. So, like we talked about before, you can create your own views. And again, you can create Kanbans or tables. So, you can create multiple pipelines if you want to segment your data in different ways. Yes, this is drag and droppable as you'd expect, and you can expand the deals for additional information. And that leads into the topic of reporting. Attio allows you to create dashboards, and dashboards contain individual reports. So, for example, they included this report out of the box. Here's companies by country. But the really relevant parts to CRM are that you can have charts or reports where you can see historical values and see how that's changed over time. You've got funnels, which is helpful for tracking the progression of your pipeline. Time and stage is super valuable when you think about velocity reporting. And then stage change, see how many records move to specific stages. That will help you identify any drop-off points in your sales process. Next up, we have automations, and that contains both workflows and sequences. I find it interesting how some CRMs group this together. Everything's in automation versus some that keep it as two separate concepts, both workflows, which are going to be your standard automations, and then you've got sequences, which will be something like email sequences of how they actually iterate through the series of email campaigns that they get. So here within the Workflow Automation Builder, this is going to feel really similar to tools like Airtable or Notion. Here you can build really custom automations that work a lot better than many of the other CRMs who have very pared back functionality. So first you have your triggers, like when a record is created or updated, or if you're manually triggering it. You've got things to do with lists, like when we add a new contact to a list. We've got based on updated data, new tasks that are created. We can put on a recurring schedule, or if we have an outside system that sends a webhook, so we can use this for integrations. Now, integrations for triggers themselves do appear to be pretty limited to only have two systems, Outreach and Typeform, but I would assume there's probably some coming in the future, given that they do have additional integrations. They're not just all baked in as triggers. Then for our actions, we have our standard CRUD actions. We can manage our lists. We can enroll people into a new sequence. This is my favorite one. We can have an agent actually research details about that record. We've got some more standard AI classifications. We've got calculated values, conditions, delays. We've got some CRM specific things like round robin assignment and celebrations for wins. We've got business logic like looping, and then we can send those external API requests as well. And again, at this point, these integrated actions are pretty light here. So the cool part is if you're a sales ops person, you're going to be able to do a lot directly here with inside of Attio, as opposed to having to use a third-party tool just to handle your automation and integration needs. Now, when it comes to sequences, these are the automated campaigns that we're going to be sending to our list. And at first look, Attio's sequences don't appear particularly sophisticated to me compared to other CRMs that are out there. So for example, when we enroll someone, we can choose a number of business days until they receive their first email. We can use templates with mail merge type functionality. Again, we can put in a number of days until they receive the next one. But sequences are only for email. Over here on the side, we can control the sending window. We can give an unsubscribe link, which we have to do. And then we can establish our exit criteria. There's only two options of reply received. And also we have when a meeting is booked. So these sequences are only for email, and it's going to be attached to the inboxes that you've set up. You're not spinning through a bunch of new inboxes. Attio has its own mobile application as well that you can download from the app or Play Store. From the app, I can see favorite records as well as the different objects I want to interact with. I can search Attio. I've got a list of my tasks. I've got my notifications, which I can actually configure from the web application to determine what should actually get pushed to my phone. From here, I could click on a list of people, and so I can see the same views that I would have in the web application. I could open up a contact record. I don't love how this has a second extra step in order for me to actually drill into their details. The mobile app definitely isn't the strongest feature of the platform. And that's because there's just some really basic things that almost every CRM with a mobile application has. One of them would be if I were to click a phone number and call that person, then typically when you call and you end a call, it's going to automatically log that call record for you. I don't see that functionality here. So while it's easy to interact with your data in the mobile application, it's not very feature rich. Next, let's talk about customization and integration of the platform. So in our settings, we can see a list of all the objects in the system. By default, we've got companies, deals, and people. And then we also have system ones like users and workspaces. So I can customize an existing object. Here we can control the appearance of what that record page looks like for our company. That's some more advanced functionality than we see from other CRMs. Our attributes are the different fields in the record. You can see which ones are already enriched out of the box. We can create our own custom fields or custom attributes. And we've got a number of different fields to choose from. Again, this is one of those reasons it feels like an Airtable or a Notion. So we can relate this to other records, other object types that we have in the system. Up here, we can do those AI autofill. So for example, this is where we could set up our research agent. This is where we could give it information in the prompt of what information to pull back to then store as structured data. Depending on which plan you're on, you can also create your own custom objects. So maybe I wanted to create subscriptions or products or quotes or invoices. These would all be examples of custom objects we could create in the platform. Now, those of you who like an unopinionated approach to your CRM are going to love this. There's no additional bloat. You create whatever objects you need. But others of you might find it strange that, wait, my deals don't actually have line items and products out of the box, or I don't have quotes or contracts that I can just send. And so this is really where I think it comes down to your personality and what you're looking for in a system. Do you want to build it your way, or do you want it to just work out of the box? Integrations in Attio are called apps, and you can see a list of the available ones in the platform. There are some, but there aren't a ton. And so, again, you might be dependent on actually connecting and wiring this together yourself. But the good news is that Attio does offer a strong API, and you can also use platforms like Zapier. So, here we've got our different triggering events inside of Zapier. And you'll notice that everything is very generic. We talk about objects and records because, again, you can create essentially whatever you want. So, even though you don't see a ton of different options for triggers, let me go to our actions and choose that. We can create list entries, create note, update these things. We don't see a ton of options, but that's because, again, with those custom objects, you can create or update essentially whatever it is that you need to. Next, let's take a look at Attio's pricing. Attio does offer a free plan in addition to a free trial, and this comes with up to 3 seats. And it's pretty great that even though it's limited, you get that automatic data enrichment even on the free plan. Paid plans start at $29 per user per month. We've got $69 for Pro, and then we've got Custom, which we're not aware of what the pricing is without talking to sales. So let's talk about some of the reasons you might upgrade your plan. When it comes to objects, on my free plan, that is my people and my companies and my deals. Those are my 3 objects right there. But then we can see that we get the full custom objects only on our Pro plan. So that's where we get up to 12, and then we get unlimited on Enterprise. Record limits apply across the system, so it's not just a number of leads, this is the number of records total across all of those objects. Templating is only available for Pro. Call intelligence with the call recorder, that's only available for Pro. You get access to multiple teams on Pro. Email sequences are only available on Pro. You get a certain number of credits included on your plan, and then you can pay for additional ones. To get unlimited email sending and all the details about your emails, you're going to be on Pro. And if you want all of the enrichment data, again, you're going to end up being on Pro. So do you sense a theme in what I'm talking about? Of course, they do have a free plan, but it seems like almost everything is pushing you up to that Pro plan. And Pro is not inexpensive, it's $69 per seat per month. So I say this just so you recognize the likelihood that you will end up on the Pro plan. Let's take a look over at softwarefinds.com to see how Attio stacks up against the competition. Here, if I scroll down, we can see that we've got Attio currently at number 2. These change all the time as we compare new software platforms, but it's really strong overall. Attio packs a lot of value because they have that free plan and you get access to that enrichment really early on, even in the free plan as you use the system. The platform is relatively impactful because, again, you're going to be able to build out what it is that you need according to your own business processes. That also ties into configurability because you get those custom objects, because you get the great integration capabilities. This is one of the most configurable platforms. I would consider the platform easy to use and easy to set up. There are some hiccups where you might need to learn more about how the automation features work, but in general, it's a very clean, easy to use interface. And transparency is solid too. The only thing I would say is that sometimes it's a little bit difficult to calculate upfront any idea of how many credits that you're going to consume. Therefore, how much is this really going to cost me? You can also pop in over to our charts and take a look at this. Maybe we want to look at configurability against, let's say, ease of use. And there we can see that Attio ranks really high in that regard compared to the other CRM platforms that we've looked at. But the most important thing is to take this for a spin yourself so that you get a recommendation of which CRMs are going to be the best fit based on your specific needs. You can weight this the way that you want. So let's talk about who Attio is a great fit for. I think true startups will absolutely love Attio. You don't want some of the extra bloat of a Salesforce or HubSpot. You want something easy to use and configurable. You can't go wrong with Attio. For businesses that have some unique processes, Attio is also a great choice because of those custom objects. You can really build the system to your particular needs. The AI and enrichment features are also going to be great, especially if you work in tech. Attio is probably not the best fit if you're looking for an inexpensive option. If you want an all-in-one solution with marketing automation and service, it's also not the right fit. And if you want a CRM that's just plug and play, you don't have to do any additional configuration work, then this also isn't the right choice. If you're still not sure which is the right CRM for you, take a look at this video where I showcase some of my favorites.